Hello, Margaret Coolman here of Soul Astrology. These two charts are quite complicated, but various things do stand out about them. So I'll focus on those things. The new moon in Gemini. So there it is at the end of Gemini, late Gemini. So the sun has been in Gemini for a good few weeks already. We're used to the movement, change, and Mercury has joined in more recently. This new moon is making one connection, bearing in mind I look at only the aspects that are multiples of 30 degrees. I find these the most powerful, and they help to keep things in a graspable form for myself. So there's one, and it's pretty exact, between Sun and Moon and Neptune. It's a square relationship, 90 degrees. They are at right angles to each other. And generally, this represents some kind of a challenge because of the two ends being in such very different elements. So here we've got air and water, which don't have a lot to do with each other, really. As we know from thought, pure thinking, communication through words, and the emotional realm, which communicates in a way all of its own. With Neptune, we're looking at the lack of boundary, a good thing because it means we can be intuitive. It is our intuition, in its own sign of Pisces, which it's been in for some years now, and opening us up to all the possibilities, not just the ones we want or fancy. Neptune has a lovely relationship, and has done for a long time, with Pluto. They've been making this sextile for years, on and off, as Pluto has changed speed. But at the moment their connection is suggesting that the transformation that's required at present is in line with spiritual requirement. The changes are potentially opening us up more to expressing spirit on the earth, in the earth. Pluto has gone back into Capricorn, having given us just a taste of Aquarius. So we are back into dealing with the practicalities of what the changes are required. And the Neptune, the spiritual essence of it all, is at right angles to this light, communicative Gemini energy that this next month is an opportunity for. The neat thing about square signs is that they both have the same quality, and in this case both Pisces and Gemini are very changeable, adaptable. So both ends of the square are involved in all sorts of possibilities. Our job, because we are more represented personally by the Sun and Moon than by Neptune, our job is to not think that we've grasped the whole thing, that we understand at last, that we know how things are. If we do this, we are extremely liable to find that circumstances turn out completely differently, that we suddenly discover the piece that makes all the difference to what we had thought. The best way to navigate this energy is to just not know what the results are going to be, to let it unfold, to be with how it is now as much as possible, and to communicate about what we do know, which is how we feel about things, what we think. Well, I think this, but I could be wrong. It's very, very important to allow that our thoughts can be wrong, that our feelings might be mistaken. We might be reacting to something that is perfectly how we picked it up, but coming to the wrong conclusion. It's about checking with reality. It's about talking around things without anybody being right or wrong. One of the beautiful things about this chart is the Venus and Mars so close together in Leo. Leo is the heart itself, of course, and radiant from the heart, wearing the heart on the sleeve. The way we relate, full of energy, those two planets together. And connecting, Venus especially, beautifully with Mercury. So a lot of communicating about how close we feel to each other, how we are as humanity, all in the same boat, the things that we can share that bring joy. Again, a slight warning there that we don't think that other people are going to be feeling the same as us. They might feel exuberant also, but about something different. So again, checking. And during this first part of the month, both Mars and Venus will be at right angles to Uranus in Taurus. I think actually, although we might see this as challenging, which yes, it is again an encouragement to allow changes to happen. These are both fixed signs, more likely in a way to feel the rightness of their position. Again, it's the personal planets having to deal with the more impersonal, Uranus, the guide that's teaching us about freedom. And in this case, it's freedom within the earthy situation, which I think is very much about being in the world, practical world, but not of it. So recognizing that that's not our identity to be physical. I think it shows up mostly perhaps in relationships because it's like, come and have fun with us. And somebody not actually wanting to have fun with you at that particular moment, which could be, oh well, go your own way, could be quite upsetting. It doesn't need to be. We need to let people come and go. We are all individuals, and as Uranus is teaching, don't relate to just this physical presence of things. People don't have to be right beside you to be in relationship. And what is relationship anyway? It isn't exactly a thing. Quite important not to identify the relating that's happening all the time as relationships. Just letting them be. Well, today we related beautifully. I related to so-and-so down the road. I haven't spoken to them before. So we let the relating happen as it happens. Not making the way we think of relationship with somebody today as being the way it was last week. Last week may have no bearing on today. Freedom, sometimes difficult because we don't feel safe. And there we have the connection to Mars, to Chiron. The energy, it's all very lovely, and it's very healing too, if we can be that bright warmth. But it is also about sharing our vulnerability, acknowledging it and maybe not sharing it. The full moon is quite a different matter. The Sun and Mercury have both moved into Cancer, opposite the very responsible Capricorn moon, who trines Jupiter, who sextiles the Sun and Mercury. It's a beautiful triangle, and in fact it's part of a cradle of aspects, as we call it, because Saturn is involved in Pisces. And this brings me to say that all month Saturn and Jupiter are sextile. Jupiter about expansion. In Taurus it's very much about manifesting, expansion in the world, being supported by and supporting Saturn in Pisces. And of course the Sun and Mercury trine the Saturn, so we have that lovely half hexagon shape. Saturn in Pisces is really reliant on our ability to be flexible, so that what's manifested can keep changing the way it is, the way it shows. This looks to me like navigating white water, turbulent by the nature of Pisces, a storm at sea. And yet there is Jupiter in Taurus, saying it's not meant to destroy. The tussle is between Sun, Mercury and Moon, as they always are when they're opposite. There's the feeling of responsibility, the feeling of being able to cope, of being competent to handle worldly things, and to handle, particularly in this case, the Jupiter expansion, while Sun and Mercury are also coming into a square with Chiron. They're a little bit worried about this responsibility. Is it too much? Can I really handle it? Will I be able to deal with the results if they're not what I wanted? And that's the piece. It's if they are not what I wanted. Mars and Venus had in a way just finished squaring Uranus by the time we get to the 3rd of July. But of course Venus is moving very slowly and reaching the end of Leo before turning round and going back towards the Sun. So we keep Venus in Leo, which is very lovely. And it's after the next new moon we will be dealing with perhaps old relationships or things left over, going back over things. Not to worry about that so much this month, but it's there. There will be 2 more passes of Venus squaring Uranus. It's good even now to think about being free from people, being free within relationships, letting people go so that they can come back. There's lots of considerations around this subject that we might do well to ponder on before the actual experiences rise up to be dealt with next month. What is important, I think, to remember always is that when there is love, there is connection. We're all made of it. All relationships must have a foundation there, but the personalities don't necessarily see it. When we ourselves feel love for someone else, whether they love us or not, that is to say, whether they're aware of loving us or not, we are connected because we are in the spiritual realm. Personal love is not a giving, it's a taking. It's holding the other close in some way, being afraid to let go. Love that is truly giving is spiritual love, and therefore operates on the spiritual level where we are all one anyway. So you are never separate from those you love. This whole month about the sextile between Saturn and Jupiter, and with Jupiter still so close to the North Node, this expansion within and towards Earth, earthy things, material things, is well supported. I think the crucial thing is what our motivation for expansion is. So expanding in any way, but is it because it's what I want? Or is it because if I expand like this, I can be of so much value in the world? If I expand like this, I can help this. Our expansion needs to be from our own motivation, yes, but towards humanity as a whole, towards the earth particularly. Anything that supports the earth at this stage. Now, how can we, little ants on the surface that we are, support the earth? We do our best when we support wilding, allowing the habitat for insects, birds, animals to be the way it naturally would be, as much as possible. it just occurred to me that actually helping to keep footpaths open, if you're in that kind of territory, although it may mean whacking down a few weeds, it actually keeps big business aware and perhaps legally contained, so that real countryside is left untouched or not destroyed. So sometimes there is a call for a certain cultivation. It's good, our relationship with the earth, to cultivate pathways, to cultivate crops, trees, in diversity, not to limit, but to cultivate. It's very different. And for those who feel strong spiritually, very much in touch with angels and accepting their soul's path, whether it's comfortable or not, remember how competent you really are to handle the things that are likely to happen in your life. Don't fret. The thing to avoid is to allowing fear to reduce our sense of self-respect, which is what can happen, of course. Keep your self-respect. Know what you can cope with, just looking back at your life and how you've coped and how you're still here. Hold the hands of your inner guidance. Let's go forward together. Thank you. This is a time to learn from your life as it is. Relax. Be as comfortable as you will allow your body to be, and enter it fully, head to feet, as life in the material world. Be the conscious interface for life, manifesting material experience, realizing all as one.